Hello and welcome to the fourth episode of So We Think as we edge towards one of the great weekends in racing right across the country all throughout the year. Derby Day in Melbourne, Golden Eagle Day in Sydney. Welcome, Ben Way.
Thank you very much. Good to be here, and it feels like Christmas. We get to this time of year, Derby Day, and you steam into Cup Day, Oaks Day. Throw in the Golden Eagle for $10 million. We have Stakes Day to round it out. So it is a brilliant time of year. Couple of challenges for people who are considering going. I went to 14 straight Derby Days.
14 straight?
Yep, and only on 2 occasions did I make it there for the first race.
Yeah.
The first jump's I think it historically was pre-11.
Yes, it was.
10:40, 10:45, somewhere around there. Didn't matter. I could hop on that train at 7 a.m. I still missed the first. Something had happened. Train would be delayed. Tickets, getting in, whatever. But that's the challenge to everyone out there.
And as is the nature with Derby Day, because it's an all-stakes racing program, you actually miss a stakes race first off the bat, which is tough to swallow.
Although how I've bet on Derby Day recently, it's been a win to miss a race because it was just one less chance to bleed profusely. And speaking of bleeding profusely, geez, I've continued to bleed. Tom Kitten was a rare highlight.
Yes, he was amazing.
But how good are you seeing them?
Look, I'm having a good run of it at the moment. I'm happy to say I tipped a few winners last week with Espiona winning the invitation. She was brilliant, and I think we'll see that form from the Everest stand up again this week in some of the races at Rosehill Gardens, particularly Hawaii 5-0.
Yeah, even alcohol-free looks a nice chance as well.
I agree.
In her race. So, yeah, I agree. The Everest form's always going to be the form. My best was Renaissance Woman. So Renaissance Woman peels out. I know we've got the leaders covered. The only horse I need to worry about is Zayrek, who drew barrier 55 and was back last. And stinky old Zayrek over the top for Team Hawks. And I love that horse. I know they've got a family connection to it. I think Michael's wife is a part owner in Zayrek. I could be wrong there, but I think she is. And so I always enjoy it when they win, but that was one that I wish didn't happen.
So we both got Tom Kitten in the Spring Champion Stakes, and he's a horse to watch throughout the latter part of his 3-year-old year. And then next year, we've had texts about this Cox Plate next year, I reckon looks right for the taking there. And
what
then
price did you see?
$15 I saw.
Did you take it?
I didn't take it, no. I didn't take it. And then on top of that, I also had Romantic Warrior, of course, in the Cox Plate. So that was a nice day.
I mean, I know you're tight with Katie and James, and it was great to see him. I think you described it really well, not just here on the vodcast, but also during coverage. This was a journey. It wasn't just a matter of the best jockey hopping on, a horse. They chased him. It was convincing them to come. It was things haven't gone to plan, feed issues, training issues, everything. It was his masterpiece.
Yeah, I think it was. And celebrations still to come for that family. So he stayed in Melbourne to gallop Shinzo, I think, on Monday or Tuesday ahead of the Coolmore. So I'm sure they'll celebrate it.
I underestimated how good Shinzo's run in the Everest was. Live chance.
We'll give our tips later on, but this is the program of racing that we've got across 2 states on Saturday at Rosehill Gardens, the $10 million Golden Eagle for the 4-year-olds over the 1,500, plus the Rosehill Gold Cup and the Giga Kick over the 1,300 metres, and then at Flemington it's stakes racing galore, including the Group 2 Wakeful for the 3-year-olds over the 2,000, the Victoria Derby, of course, over the 2,500, the Coolmore Stud Stakes, which looks to be the race of the day for the 3-year-old sprinters, and then the Empire Rose for the fillies and the mares over the 1,600 metres as well. But the Golden Eagle, special guest, she shares favouritism in the race, the trainer of AMELIA'S JEWELL, Simon Miller.
Simon, thank you for joining us, and we're excited to have you and this superstar mare in Sydney on Saturday. Of course, AMELIA'S JEWELL has had an up and down preparation so far, but her quality has still shone brightly over the course of this spring.
Emma, Ben, good to be on the podcast. Yes, it's been an emotional roller coaster, this journey, Melbourne to Sydney. So hopefully she'll bounce back Saturday and we're away again.
So how long have you been away from home total?
I've been commuting, just zipping in and out on planes. So come over to watch a gallop or stay the week and then venture back. But it's a bit of a tricky one for me with that 3-hour time difference. She works at 4 o'clock, and so I get up at 3:30, which is 12:30 at home, and I'm still on the Perth time zone. So not really that enjoyable, but it is when you go, like Flemington or Randwick this morning and watch her work, and it's worth it when you see a good horse.
Her best is exceptional, and as a result, she's so hard in the market. You must be thrilled to have a horse of this caliber for one, but the excitement ahead of what is a $10 million race. How do you contain yourself?
No, I'm all right. I'm just sort of one day at a time. But, yeah, it's great to get your hands on an elite one. We've had some really good horses in the past that, that have racked up $1 million plus, but then they're good operators, and then this one's just another level above. And when you've had the good ones and you see a freak, you just know you're in for a wild ride.
So she was elite, obviously, in the Let's Elope and the Stock Stakes. We got to see her at her best there. And then I think we've all come to terms with what happened in the Toorak where she ran ninth. So she had a bug, and how did her bloods were a little bit off, were they? And she was off her feed for a number of days?
Bloods were normal, which was frustrating, and pulled up sound. So that's always great from a training point of view when one throws a doozy in. But she wasn't eating, and that's she's a machine. Like, she got off the truck this morning, straight into the feed bin, and that's her greatest attribute. But post the Toorak, she wasn't eating until Thursday. So, and then obviously with the media hype around her, everyone found out because I was doing a lot of media, and then I had a heap of Flemington trainers reach out and say that they had a heap of their horses doing very similar things.
We've seen the Toorak as a nice form reference for this race in the past, and you don't necessarily need to win. In fact, we've had a beaten favourite in a Toorak then come out and win. So you can bounce back, but it is hard to have a level of confidence after you've seen a run like that. And you do have a query in regards to gear that you've been...
Yeah, I wanted to throw this at you. So I remember speaking to you probably about a month ago, Simon, saying, if the blinkers are applied on her, she improves, 3-4 lengths? Why are we getting no blinkers on Saturday?
Oh, because she had a genuine excuse the other day, so I don't want to jump at shadows. So I'll back her in and she'll go there and deliver. This
is a $10 million race, and you have the opportunity to win. I mean, let's hope that she adds more Group 1s to her CV, but this is the big dog of the campaign, and you don't want to use a piece of equipment that is going to, just... Oh, dear.
No, I just got a text and it vibrated.
So for those unaware, you're probably thinking, how did that just happen? Now, when you're in hotels and you're trying to do these sorts of chats, we had it during COVID, didn't we? You try all different things to get the computer at the ideal height. And unfortunately, Simon has tried to work it out.
Stack it with a few pieces of kitchen.
I think he's got a fruit bowl. He's got a glass, and clearly we've taken a tumble.
I guess the other thing Ben wanted to touch on was the navigational challenge that she may face on Saturday, just the Sydney way of going. And that's the other thing. I was, did she work well going around that way the last couple of times? Or, just trying to pick apart, what's happened the last couple of weeks, mate?
She's been brilliant reverse way. She got on the Sydney lead straight away every time. So that was Frosty. Couldn't believe how quick she was adapting to it. And it's a funny story. Tuesday, they had breakfast with the stars at Flemington, and there was like 500 people in the grandstand all watching the machines roll up down the straight. And at 8 o'clock, it's the only time we can do reverse gallops when they shut the inside track. So then we wheeled out. No one knew. It was just Siobhan, Frosty and myself, and went on the grass and started going the other way. And then all the media, we hadn't even popped into a gallop, and all the media frenzy from Flemington was on the blower. Like, is that yours going reverse way right now? Because they thought, who else would be going Sydney way going? So then they all dived in and had a look. But it was good work, really strong work. So she's ready to go. She'll adapt Sydney way.
Gravy. When we chatted earlier, you talked about it being $10 million in prize money and $5 million for first. I reckon he's already spent half of it.
What on?
But where I had to correct him is it's actually 5.25. So my claim is, if he was happy with 5, he should give me the remainder.
If you're not counting that extra 250, it didn't matter.
Clearly, he's going well. If 250,000 doesn't mean much to him, clearly he's going very well. But it would be a life-changing race, wouldn't it?
Oh, no, yeah, like $500,000, from my point of view, $500,000 drops into your bank account. So it's a good little earn. I'm sure I'll have a lot of friends that will want to celebrate with me that night. We'll put the credit card on the bar and go nuts.
Well, for one, I'm happy to put up my hand. I'm going to be there on track, and I am going headset. I'm just going to tie a lead to your neck, and you can steer me around.
If we win it, you can strap a GoPro to me. We'll see where we go.
I think we should put that on beforehand. Hey, back on the field for Saturday. Who do you see as the competition? The way that Tuesday panned out with the barrier draw was fascinating because she's got Hawaii 5-0, probably the other most fancied horse in the market, to her outside. So you got two of the fancies right there, 4 and 5. It's going to be some pressure to posse up.
And good luck bumping that horse out of the way.
He's a monster.
Yeah, he's going to cast a fair shadow.
I think it's great that like Hawaii 5-0 and Legato are either side of us because it just builds, a bit more profile to the race and intrigue as to how it'll all unfold. When we hit the Guineas in Perth last year, there was only 3 possible chances it could win, and we drew 3, 4, 5. And so it was like, well, now it's game on. And this looks like it, with no disrespect to the others, but they're probably the 3 that are corner in the market, and they've all drawn favourably. So yeah, it'll be fascinating. Like Hawaii 5-0 will probably be in front of us, and Legato will be behind us.
Hey, how did you find? I know that you threw it out on Twitter and asked for a vote, but was there ever a point where you thought you might go the other way and stay in Melbourne? I'd like to think it wasn't a Twitter vote that helped sway you.
I honestly thought about it, like, because I'm a Melbourne boy and I love the Cox Plate, but when you sit down and weigh it all up, you've got a weight for age race taking on absolute warriors, or you go to Sydney against your own age. So, and one's double the prize money. So it's a no-brainer from that effect. But I do have a love affair with the Cox Plate.
Final word on this great mare. I cannot wait to see her, and I do really hope that she's back to her best, and you filled me with all kinds of confidence that she is.
She'll bounce back. Take her on trust.
Give your tip for Saturday now. Our viewers want it. Saturday at Ascot.
Race. I can't remember if it was at race 1 or 2. Race 2, Melkar Pindari. That if you bet up there or run it through your multis, you'll get a result.
Okay.
Just search for Miller on the tab app.
Done.
Easy done. All right. Hey, mate, wishing you all the best on Saturday. It is a big day of racing in Sydney, and really do hope that she can be ultra competitive in the Golden Eagle.
Thanks for having me on, and it's always a laugh. So hopefully I'm bringing home the Eagle.
Mate, I'm packing that dog lead on Saturday.
I can see it now. I'll land back in Perth and I'll say the Eagle has landed.
Full of confidence.
Oh, stop it.
Thank you, mate.
And see, if you subscribe to the Vodcast podcast on Spotify or on YouTube, you get all that great gear like we've spoken about with Simon Miller, and all your gibbering right there in your inbox. Just lands there like poof, there it is.
Okay. A, I don't like that sound effect, and B, I don't really like how you referred to mine as gibbering, but it is gibbering.
Yeah.
Yeah. So make sure to do that.
Yeah. Subscribe, Spotify, YouTube, you know the drill, and we will be with you each and every week. Okay, time to preview the big race in Sydney on Saturday, the Golden Eagle, 1,500 metres, the 4-year-olds worth $10 million, and the great charity component as well. 8 individual Group 1 winners in this field. It's a beauty.
Yeah, so Atlantic Jewel we've discussed already. Amelia's Jewel. God, I've done that a million times. Have you?
No, but someone from our 7-horse racing team did.
It. And when I saw it, I thought, God, it's a matter of time till I do that on air, and now I've done it myself.
That's okay.
But it was very
It's an
funny.
easy mistake to make.
I'm glad I didn't make it in person to him. But he had a laugh.
He did. He goes, well, maybe if her eggs have been frozen after she passed.
Amelia's Jewel looks a live chance. Let's talk more about Hawaii 5-0. 1,500 metres. Most people are saying 12 to 15 looks an awkward jump. I completely agree with you. This is a horse that we know needs more ground. And if anything, if the Everest wasn't there, I reckon they would have been building up towards 15 anyway. So, yes, the 300-metre jump is undesirable, but the distance range is ideal.
I think this is his race for the taking. I think jumping up is, it does look a little bit strange, but I think the 1,500 metres at Rosehill, plum draw. Nashra Willa took the suspension that he was dished up at the midweek straight away because this was the horse he wanted to come back and ride. He didn't want to miss this. He could have waited another week or so to take the suspension to ride in the next Saturday meeting, but he went, nah, this is the horse. He will win the Golden Eagle, and they're the words coming out of Nash's mouth. So I'm taking that on trust.
It'll come out later on, but I love the Kiwi.
Alligator.
Yeah, so she has just proven when the grand finals come along that she's got them all covered. And I know that there are horses that were, say, $25 that have similar form lines coming out of the Guineas down there, but what when you have a look at it in the form book, it just says half a head or a long neck. Well, that doesn't say that, hey, there was a fall in the race. She was blocked twice. She tried to come to the outside, went back to the inside, was horribly held up, was a length and a half off them with 50 to go, and still won. She could have won that comfortably with clear air.
So she's Group 1 placed this preparation back in New Zealand, and then she won the Matamata Cup, which is a listed race last start. So she's stepping up. I guess the only query for me is jumping up to this 4-year-old grade now. Like, there's a lot more.
You're just underrating the New Zealand form.
I think I probably am. You're right. The
Which
horse
is fine, but look at the crop we've currently got.
Yeah. Okay, so
Legato, Prowess, Imperatriz. They only
high
send
quality.
the good ones.
Yeah, I know. And Mickey D coming up to ride, opting out of Derby Day to ride her in the Rosehill Golden Eagle. I think as well, the mares in this race have an impeccable record. I think there's only been between 3 and 6 mares in each edition of them, and every year they've placed. And even last year, I think we were 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th. So, the mares have a...
Wait, is this a battle of the sexes?
No, it's not meant to be.
You consider yourself a mare?
I am a mare. I'm not a filly anymore. I'm
still a colt. I'm a dower colt, but I'm a colt.
Dear. Kovalika. He's not a colt. But he's a fascinating horse, isn't he? So his win up in Queensland, I think everyone started really talking about what could this horse achieve during the spring. So he's 2nd in the Epsom, so nearly got that 2nd Group 1 next to his name. And then 5th over the 1600 in the King Charles, the 3rd to Fangirl. He's flying. Do we think the 1500 suits, or do you think he's better over the 2000?
I hate saying it. I hate the setup.
Yeah.
But I love the stable, and I know they wouldn't get it wrong. So where does that leave me?
Well, there's more questions than answers here. Redina, of course, the Epsom winner, Kathy O'Hara, riding out of her skin at the moment. No? Okay.
He maps really well. Will get its chance, but I don't think it's good enough.
What about the setup of Osipenko, dropping from the 2000 in the Turnbull where he ran 10th to Gold Trip, where he over-raced and he was keen in his run, to come back to the 1500 metres at a track he performs extremely well at?
Absolutely. Home track. I think it is, an awkward setup, and you hate to think that a $10 million race is an afterthought, but it does reek of, we didn't quite handle the longer trip, so we'll drop back to the 15 and see how we go. Definitely capable, but geez, Osipenko's had some victims. There's not a tipster going around that hasn't tipped Osipenko.
So you're jumping off? Or have you been off for a while? Okay.
I've never been on.
Oban Buramai.
Love it. Japanese horse, and good on you for taking on the name.
Unlike Josh Parr, who picked up the ride this week and he's refusing to say it, which I understand, Joshy. It's hard to do.
I'm on board the Japanese horse, and I think it's going to... I love the work of the Japanese horse. That was how it went. The whole chat on Big Sports Breakfast with Josh. And eventually I said, hang on, that's 4 times you've referenced Japanese horse. Yeah. You don't want to say Oban Buramai. But when you have a look at the credentials in Japan, albeit in juvenile races, this is a Group 1 quality horse who's made a mess of them in lower grades, has handled all going, which I love, because a lot of the time with the Japanese you think has to be on top of the ground. Yep. That's not the case with this horse. I'm a little worried about the drift. Sat at around $7, $8, got out to double figures. I almost think, what do they know that I don't? But all the works looked good.
Drawn well, lightly raced,
I went a different way, but I think I might still back. If we see $12, $13, I'll be backing.
I reckon there's a few here at odds, though. You could also have an each-way play at. Galeron is a fascinating entrant. Regan Bayliss to ride for Charlie Hill. So first up off the plane, you know it. You know it's always a recipe for success.
Yeah. First up has me slightly concerned.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know.
You've got some that are just so rock hard fit. I'd love sort of a 16 back to 15, or a horse like the Kiwi. That's why I've ended up there. I think positionally Legato ends up in the right spot.
Yeah.
I think preparation wise, I love that. I love the versatility in terms of track condition. Has won all bar one on good. Is unbeaten on soft and heavy. That's why I lent that way.
Vienna Princess, she's flying at the moment, looking for 3 on the bounce, and then Ruthless Dame comes out of the invitation. And there's horses here that we've missed. So, it's a massive field, and the market tells the story, doesn't it? I think top 2 in the market about $4.50 for both Hawaii 5-0 and Amelia's Jewel. There's value to be found.
You know the worst part about the race? It's in the quaddie.
Oh, you're going to have to take 10.
So we're going to have to...
How many are you going to take?
Well, everyone's going to be wide too, so you could get a real edge if you cut it down to 2, but I reckon I'll have at least 10. You just can't put F. That's giving up.
Tricky race, but a great race. This is sadly the last Melbourne Cup Carnival that we will get to see the greatest of them all in Damien Oliver riding. I cannot believe on Tuesday he will ride in his 32nd Melbourne Cup. It's extraordinary.
And we'll touch on one particular Melbourne Cup in 2 ticks, but it is a race that when I think of Damien Oliver, I immediately think Melbourne Cup. He's had great successes in other Group 1s, but I feel as though this is where a country fell in love. Not necessarily a star was born, but maybe a champion was iced. That's where we went, right, this guy is the top of the tree.
Well, he's had 129 Group 1 victories to his name throughout his career. Let's recap what we think are his greatest wins of all. And at number 1, we have to go with Media Puzzle in that Melbourne Cup of 2002 for so many different reasons. But to be able to cross that line first in front for an international horse, but for everything that he had been through personally in the 2 weeks prior, you still can't get over it, and I don't think anyone can really still get over the performance that he was able to put in that day. You're right. He was cool as ice, but with so much heartfelt emotion running through his body too.
Yeah, and the bulk of us, we know when we've had family tragedies, it's hard to come into work. And regardless of what your job is, it's tough. We work in the media, so people can see us. We can't hide behind a desk, so that's difficult. But as a professional sports person, to go out there and achieve the best shortly after your brother's passed away, absolutely terrible to be in that position and amazing to surge out of it. And I think at one stage, when this podcast vodcast is up to its 300th episode, we might do a top 5 celebrations of all time.
Yeah, that's one of the best.
I think for so many reasons, it's number 1. Brenton of Dulla would be
the Sketty Spirit,
right up there.
with the bow.
With the bow was brilliant. Hugh Bowman, Lion Tamer. I'll get my list up when we do it.
Let's do it soon.
But there are a few, but that one is one that just sits. It'll sit with me forever.
He looks up to the heavens, he kisses his hand, and he raises it to the sky and says, "For you, brother boy."
Yeah.
Oh, I just get emotional
even
thinking about it.
Yeah, and now there's a reason we've only got one list. You compiled the list, which I'm thankful.
Did my homework.
But it's because we were always going to have that horse on top in that moment.
There's a few in the list that I think most people would have in their own list if they were to compile one. So number 2, the 95 Melbourne Cup on Doremus to complete the Caulfield Melbourne Cup double. I think that's a feat that very few have been able to achieve. So to be able to work with, personal interest as well. So I did that one in because also Ollie lived with me when I was a small child. And he's in one way a part of my extended family. To work with the team to get that horse to be able to achieve 2 majors within 3 weeks of each other. That's an amazing achievement.
Absolutely. So Northerly with the WA connection was always going to be an amazing story. That was in 2001. Why did you put Animo in at 4?
I think having spoken to Ollie over the last couple of years, he rates Animo as one of the greatest horses he's ridden, and he didn't ride him all that much. But I think we look back on Animo's career as he was a superstar of a horse. And that day, James McDonald had been riding him in Sydney, and it was Spring Champion Stakes Day. So he stayed in Sydney. Ollie got to ride him in Melbourne. And it's a stallion-making race. So whilst Animo achieved so much else on track, including a Cox Plate and nearly 2 Cox Plates, the Caulfield Guineas is the race that almost sets him up as a stallion going forward.
Was it a versus nature strip? Was that for James choosing one or the other? I feel as though
the Everest was the week after. Yeah.
I feel as though there was a balancing act there for a while. Geez, that would have been hard, sitting there and watching Big A go about it. And Nimmerley, so I would have swapped in Happy Trails for the South Australian connection. Yeah. But you went with Nimmerley. And historically, that completely makes sense because it was a big moment.
Yeah, so it was the moment that he overtook George Moore's record as the number 1 Group 1 winning jockey in the country. So got to 127 Group 1s, a record that hadn't been broken in many, many years. It was for Matt Smith and the Queen of the Turf. Nimmerley, she's not an absolute freak of nature, and she's a horse that most people won't know, but she got her Group 1, and Ollie didn't even, well, he says he didn't know that he was about to break George Moore's record, but he got there
He's a good liar too.
Yeah, Royal Randwick.
There has been some conjecture on that. We're lucky enough to work with Bruce and Jace, so you don't get conjecture when it comes to those sorts of records.
Yeah.
But I know Jace was very big on the fact that some had been lost and figures were different, and so they've done countbacks, and they were very confident that was when the record was broken. Who do you reckon is the bigger Ollie fan, Bruce or Jace? I reckon Jason.
I reckon Jason.
Yeah.
Yeah, I reckon Richo.
He loves him.
Yeah, he is obsessed. And he's still got the opportunity. I'd love to see Ollie retire with 130. A clean 130 would be a nice way to go out.
He had Jewess, didn't he,
He had Jewess in the Cox Plate.
Unlucky.
Oh, she was enormous. So she's a tease, but she was absolutely huge. So on Saturday, though, Moravia in the Coolmore, who I give a sneaky chance to, McCunty in the Derby, and then More Secrets in the Empire Rose, and then Alan Kerr in the Cup on Monday as well. I reckon his best chance is if there was a boil over for Moravia, but there's still a few weeks left and then he'll have the opportunity in Perth, but I'd love to see the clean 130.
Alan Kerr will upset me greatly because I had a few speculators last year. Oh. So that one will hurt me.
Let's keep going and maybe do a little bit of a preview of the great racing at Flemington on Saturday, headlined by 3 amazing Group 1. So starting with the Coolmore, and this is one of the races of the day because you look at the horse flesh on offer. You got Shinzo, your Golden Slipper winner, Cylinder, who's just been amazing all preparation. The likes of Don Corleone, Arkansas Kid, who was brilliant in his 2-year-old year, Stapati, who was undefeated up until last start. She-Light, who's been very good as well. I'm Unstoppable, who was the very cheap I'm Invincible purchase for Lloyd Kennywell and Lucy Yeomans. Osmosis, who we know is an absolute jet. Will he fly down the straight and get the 1,200 metres? And then, as I mentioned, Moravia as well, who I think has been very unlucky not to get a big win this preparation.
King's Gambit,
who was touted as an Everest horse for a time.
Yeah, and maybe he's putting it all together. I do think there are some that have the resume there and say, pick me, and there are others that say, I haven't done it yet, but pick me, and you're sort of like, yeah.
Value.
So I think Cylinder's there, Shinzo's there, and then suddenly with King's Gambit, you're thinking, right, well, you took a step in the right direction.
It's D-Day.
I've seen you down the straight.
Yeah.
You got spooked by a race book.
Yeah.
So do I trust you? I don't know whether we do. Good race.
Very, very good race.
One of the better races. One of the races I'm really looking forward to.
What about the Derby? So this is a tricky race because you've got the short price favourite in Riff Rocket, who was defeated last start at a very short price favourite. Don't think there's any doubt about the 2,500 metres with him, but there's a couple of others you got to consider. For me, mainly Apulia for Team Hayes.
This sounds so unrelated, and it is. What's the name of that famous British chef?
Oh, here we go.
The British chef. Everybody.
Like Gordon Ramsay?
No. More British.
I don't know.
Anyway,
Nigella Lawson?
No, that guy. His son, why do I know his son's name? But his son is River Rocket. That's his name. River Rocket. And so I always think about it when I think of Riff Rocket.
Okay.
I wondered whether that's where the horse was named after.
Can we get back on track?
We can. Riff Rocket is going to be really hard to beat.
Very hard to beat. Were you happy with the price, though? So opened $2.70, backed into $1.90 when markets first opened on Wednesday, and now drifting slightly. It's Jamie Oliver's son, I've just learnt.
Jamie Oliver's son. There you go.
River Rocket.
River Rocket. That's his name.
So, okay, let's look at the breeding at Riff Rocket. American Pharaoh out of Missile Coda. Nothing to do with Jamie Oliver.
If you think what comes out of my mouth is weird, can you imagine what's percolating up here?
Mate, you got some demons in there.
Anyway, the takeaway, we discussed this off air, and I absolutely believe it to be true. People watched the replay of Riff Rocket, and all they saw was the price and the fact that he didn't win.
Go and watch the sectional times.
What they failed to consider was that the task was so ridiculously enormous. The run to get that close was everything you want ahead of a derby. We've seen the form back to Snowman Franked. It's everywhere keeps stacking up. So there might be something that gets out to the derby trip and sprouts wings, but undoubtedly the horse to beat.
Yeah, completely agree with you there.
Second favourite's running for the third week in a row. The Hayes team are confident, but I don't know. I'd rather lean the other way.
Yeah. The other Group 1 on the program at Flemington, the Empire Rose for the fillies and the mares over the 1,600 metres. This is a cracking race. And in terms of Group 1 quality at Flemington, this is the race that holds the key. So in the Golden Eagle in Sydney on Saturday, we've got 8 individual Group 1 winners.
Yep.
Across the whole card at Flemington, only 6.
Yeah. There are races like the Derby where you've got horses that have only just got out to a distance range where they're capable of winning Group 1s. So in that way, it's maybe a bit misguided.
I think alcohol-free to the mile. We haven't seen her over the mile yet in Australia, and that's where she was at her most damaging.
Debut, was it a mile? Australian debut, was it?
We can't count the debut.
It wasn't her. It was like a shadow of her for myself.
This preparation. So she's gone the 12, the 14, and now we get to see her on the quick backup as well. Don't mind that at all.
And people fell off. They decided, no, she's just not going to be anything in Australia.
I think once
we've seen enough.
Yeah, I think Princess Grace, she has been huge every start this preparation and should have picked up a big race along the way. And then you've got the likes of Hope in Your Heart, who always holds a soft spot in my heart.
Yeah, very well named. And we love the small stables. Kerry Parker would be a great story.
And so Renaissance Woman not running in Sydney, running in Melbourne.
Yeah, I'm glad that we got that news before we came here. I thought they were a live chance. Was going to go around in the last, I think, there on Saturday.
In the Rosehill Gold Cup over the 2000.
Rosehill Gold Cup, that's
so
right.
she drops back from the 18 to the 1600, which might suit her. Quick backup as well.
I got told to not lose faith after last time out.
Okay.
The second, but I have lost faith.
Oh, you're jumping off.
I think I am. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's get into our selections then if you're jumping off and take a look at who we're tipping to win all the big ones on Saturday. I will start with my best. And I know he's skinny, but think about it, just wins the Giga Kick, doesn't he? He's
2-horse race with the stablemate.
I'd love a little bit of each way money on Cascadian.
So if you flip the runs, does Private Eye win the Everest?
No, I still think this horse is just a winner and he would find a way to win.
Maybe.
You don't agree?
Oh, no, I don't disagree.
I know he's skinny, but he's looking for the perfect 10 for the year. And just hearing from Sammy Clipperton and Joe Pride, like they don't know the ceiling of this horse. If he were to win this race as well on the weekend, like we're starting to really put him in another category of horse, I think.
Quick one. Far be it for me to question the powers that be, but I hate the rotational name.
I think it was a nice touch to begin with, but now it's just getting confusing.
Lovely touch. I think name it after the inaugural winner.
We can't next year call it the Think About It.
We will.
But that's very confusing.
Yeah.
Value for me, Moravia in the Coolmore, so I think he's about $7 the place. You can get about 26 the win with him, and I know he enjoyed going down the straight at work about a week ago. And if you go back and look at each of his runs for the preparation, he's been very, very unlucky. So I'll put him in there for value for the place. Oh, yes.
Sorry. How about people spruiking horses off the back of light work at Breakfast with the Stars and stuff? I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Who are you
horses are firming off the back of that. Melbourne Cup favourites are firming.
Are you talking about Vauban or Vauban? Yeah.
Jeez. I mean, I'm not in the Vauban camp, but off the back of that, geez, talking about in hand, they didn't even let it go.
And it's over the 32. Like, does track record really matter?
Come on.
For the Golden Eagle, Hawaii 5-0 for me, getting up to the trip that I think at the start of this, we looked at the 1200 for the Everest, went, God, that's going to be short. We all forgot that he's actually probably more a 1400, 16-metre type of conveyance. So getting to his proper trip now, the Coolmore, Shinzo to complete a very rare double golden slipper into a Coolmore, which would make him astronomically valuable. Riff Rocket in the Derby, and then Alcohol Free to finally get her first Australian victory in the Empire Rose and almost justify the $10 million price tag.
Okay, best of the day. Unfortunately, my best of the day got beaten in the last 20 metres at $5 last week, but we'll go with Zapateo in the third, $3.60 at time of record. Value play of the day, this is a bit random. I reckon if you're ever getting my tips, so everyone who watches Black Bookers will be well aware, the more random the venue, the more confident I get. And the more confident you should get. Group 1s aren't my area. I'm venturing up to Eagle Farm.
Oh, I thought you were going to go Gosford or something. I mean, Eagle Farm's a metro major track.
Yeah, but it is Derby Day.
What race? Race 4, Build a Bank. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Golden Eagle, I'm going with Legato.
Okay.
Everything I've seen of these Kiwis, Prowess, Legato, they are top shelf. Imperatriz, for that matter. Coolmore Stakes winner, Cylinder. He keeps bumping into one too good, but when you're running in an Everest and you're bumping into a couple too good, I'm fine with that as a form reference. I think, apart from the slipper where we saw Shinzo go past, he's proven himself to be one of the best. Victoria Derby, Riff Rocket and a Tissue to round things out.
Okay, so download the Tab app, gamble responsibly with all of our selections over the course of the weekend.
Especially mine.
Have you had a winner yet?
Well, Tom Kitten won.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But I think I might have had 2 last week, but it's only been shorties. I've been terrible. Thankfully, I've been good on Thursday's show, but what's magnifying my crappiness on this is that you've been great. So I need that to flip. I don't want to just have a good week. I want you to have a shocker.
Oh, geez. Very friendly here on So We Think. Thank you for joining us. We will be back Sunday for a special bonus edition.
Because we just need each other's company more.
Well, we just want to talk about the Melbourne Cup field because, it's the race that stops the nation, and everybody on Sunday, Monday will be looking at that field trying to find that elusive Melbourne Cup winner or even the trifecta or first four. And we're going to have Corey Brown, who's ridden 2 Melbourne Cup winners, to come and talk us through the field.
I need to ask him a question. I once heard that he described one of his winning Melbourne Cup rides as one of his worst ever rides. So I'm going to ask him whether that's true.
Hold fire. That on Sunday. So We Think headed your way then. Thanks for joining us and enjoy the weekend's racing.
What are you really gambling with? For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.